am Lara from Beyond Education, and I have with me Mary Armstrong, who is a mother and an instructor and a homeschool teacher for Beyond as well, although she homeschooled far before coming on board with us. And I just wanted to connect and chat about basically mandated homeschooling that we now have in our current situation with social distancing and staying at home that's being mandated by many cities now. It was originally a suggestion, a strong suggestion, and now we have more strict policies to try and protect everybody. And so in response to that, schools have now gone to distance learning. And I think, as you and I both know and have seen on the different Facebook chats and text threads and whatnot, there's a lot of parents who are freaking out a little bit on how in the world do I do this?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I would love to know, Mary, just a little bit about your background and what you've done to get to where you're at right now, your experience with homeschooling, and just kind of filling in the gaps.
Right. Okay. So my experience with teaching has been, I was a public school teacher before children. And then with our 5 children, I homeschooled them for 16 years. Mm-hmm. And then when a new charter school came to San Antonio, I put my last 2 kids in the charter school. So that was 6 years ago that they left homeschooling and went into charter school. And then I loved the charter school so much, I went back to teaching there for a few years. And then now I work with you as a homeschool teacher for a family. And I am the teacher of one child. And we're also learning how to figure out how to do our homeschool teaching remotely. So that's a new challenge for my student and me. Yeah. So that's my background on that.
Well, before we jump into specifically kind of this distance learning that we're in now, the broader conversation around homeschooling, which I know you and I have talked about before, I've seen a major increase in interest from a broader population, I would say, over the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's attributed to, my personal opinion is it's attributed to a little bit of a lack of trust in the education system. I think a lot of the conversations that I have sat in on and listened to with parents, predominantly parents, is just this feeling that we don't know exactly what we're getting anymore from the education system. And so maybe wanting to explore a homeschool space. But I would love to know, what was that decision process like for you to decide to put your kids back into school from homeschool? What were the motivating factors?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, maybe a little burnout on my part, but also I found that for myself and my kids that we did like the structure that came with first a homeschool co-op. We had been doing that for a couple of years, and that was a once a week get together, but then also the rest of the week was following another teacher's lessons for the week. Mm-hmm. So we did like the structure, and they did enjoy getting together with friends. So then when the classical charter school came along, we saw that, hey, they're learning the same things there that we were at home. So let's give that a try. And that was a good fit. So, the important thing is that every year I committed to a year, because quite often, you want to throw in the towel and you want to give up. You quit. There's frustrating days. The school bus comes up the street and you want to throw your kids out the front door. But but what I always told my family is that we're in this for a year and we'll reevaluate after a year. So right now, parents have totally been thrown into having to learn at home and direct that learning, and they don't have a choice. And so days will get frustrating, but Well, so just having the attitude of, okay, we have to do this now for a month. That's the new directives that have come out just this morning.
Yeah.
So we're in it for a month,
Yeah.
and what can we do to make it a positive experience?
And I mean, what you said as far as making the commitment and just switching your mindset,
Mm.
saying, I'm committing to a year. I mean, even though, yes, schools are closed and we don't have a choice in the sense of I can't send my kid, it is a choice mentally. I feel like that we get to wake up in the morning and say, okay, today I'm going to decide to have a good day and I'm going to decide to help my student and collaborate with them to make this a really productive day, however long this distance goes on. So I feel like, and this is a conversation I keep having with a lot of my high school students. You know, this is the current situation, and we can sit and we can complain about it, or we can just decide I'm going to embrace this, and I'm going to try and find whatever the silver lining is, whatever the positive thing is in it, and move forward with it. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree that we can be such good examples for our children on how to face a new challenge. You know, are we going to come about it with just fear and trembling and so much frustration that we don't have control of what's happening? Or are we going to say, hey, let's look at how can we do this and try it out? And if that doesn't work, try something different. Uh, Ask for help, teach our kids that they don't have to do it all by themselves, that they can know how to collaborate with others, do what the teacher says on how to ask for help. For teenagers, asking in group chats with their friends. For some schools, it's okay to Google support or use those Khan Academy or YouTube videos. So asking for help but otherwise, just facing this new challenge with an attitude of, okay, we can make it through. And then when mistakes are made, give yourself some patience with that and start again. And that's one beauty of homeschooling, was that, we always had the next day to start again and try again. Even when we'd have those really bad days, sometimes we just put the books away and say, okay, enough is enough. And we'll try again tomorrow. So we have that now too.
There continues to be a theme as I talk to people, which makes so much sense, obviously, of just resilience and adaptability, right? And so
Yeah.
the concept of asking for help, this idea that we don't have to do it on our own to be adaptable. I mean, I'm even sitting here thinking, taking note just as a business owner, right? Saying like, okay, that's right, Lara, like you need to, get people together and have a conversation and say, I need help thinking innovatively. Like I'm stuck here in how we can be creative, how Beyond can support our families. So I need you guys to think for us to figure
Yeah.
out, because I'm spent, right?
Right.
And at the same time, just the resilient component of taking it a day at a time. And one day it doesn't go well, you get the
Right.
next day to try again, and that's okay.
Right. Very good. Right.
Yeah. Well, I would love to know, what does a normal day look like? I can hear somebody rummaging around in the back.
Yeah.
So a normal day
Yes.
looks like everybody interacting amongst each other.
Yeah, that's true. Let me stop and ask this person in the house. Hey, Patrick, I'm on a video right now. Can you stop your
It's
making lunch? It's about lunchtime now, so maybe okay. So
yeah.
I'm in the best internet spot right now, is right here. But anyway, so yeah, so we have 5 people in the house right now. 3 children in school, 2 high schoolers, 1 independent college kid. My husband has brought his work home, and then I'm here doing my work too. So we're all having to learn a new routine. And the way homeschooling got started on Monday morning was with, prep work on my part. Certainly keeping up with the emails and knowing what was coming. And so then getting their materials ready for high schoolers, that meant electronic devices and, internet connectivity. And
did you guys have any issues with that, or workarounds that you had to kind of find your way through? Because I know I've seen
a little bit.
a couple families having to ask, like, hey, does anybody have any old computers or things that they can lend
Oh,
their
right. Yeah. Well, I just made sure what we had could work, like, which computer could use Zoom in the best way. Did we have printer, paper, ink, a printer, things like that, and just making sure that we had the materials that they needed for younger kids, families. Hopefully, make sure that they got the materials that they needed,
right?
and so then the night before, sat down with my teenagers to talk about this new routine because they had been on 2 weeks of spring break with absolutely no routine,
Right.
and so wanted to talk about how that would look, and being teenagers, giving them the freedom to make their routines, but certainly with my input and encouragement that they needed a routine and they needed to get up in the morning and get going.
What in that
And
conversation, if you can give us a little bit more specifics, because I bet there's quite a
uh
few families and parents who may not have had that talk Sunday evening this past Sunday, but
mhm.
still, just like we're saying, like take it week by week, right? And you get a new chance to refresh and renew it
Right,
better. So
right. So things, yeah, if things aren't, it's certainly not going to be successful to just yell at your kids, "Hey, you need to get to work," and think that they're going to do it. Um, but I gave them a time frame of when I thought would be a reasonable time to get up, which I guess around here it's been more like 8:30 for them. But then my son, who's in private school, and they're using live online learning. He had an 8:30 class this morning, so he got himself up and ready for that. Um, so
so
what
they've
else?
been
So
able to kind of direct themselves in their scheduling. You've just given some parameters.
yeah, and it's true. My teenage son hasn't. He didn't think that was just such a great idea to get up and do these things. I mean, I talked about things that I thought shouldn't be included in their day besides their school time, but getting up, getting dressed, getting clean and dressed. My goal would be to have breakfast for them to entice them to come down,
Mm-hmm.
and what else? Doing some exercise each
Anything that you
day.
create like a stopping
Yeah.
point, like let's try and have everything done that's school related
Um,
by this point, or is it pretty?
Yeah, no, I think it's important for them to have the freedom to make those choices for themselves, because it just doesn't work for me to dictate and force. But I use what leverage I can, which would be a phone, an Xbox,
Okay.
and have had to say, okay, hand over the phone when I see him just laying around and not doing anything, and remind him, like, you need to get out and do some exercise. You need to get some sunshine. Um, you need to help out in the family. So being helpful in some way, that could be a chore, most likely, is something that I would accept. Um, Making the bed, just kind of getting that's not a good routine, but a lot of people are saying, hey, get up, make your bed, get up and get dressed. And that's a good way to have positive attitude, start your day.
I remember there was a popular YouTube video of,
Yeah,
I think it was like a Air Force Academy
I
admiral
think so.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
high-ranking officer who said,
Mhm.
"Make sure you get up and make your bed once you get out of bed." He said, "If anything else, if you do nothing else that day, at least you can say you made your bed,"
Right.
and like letting that prompt you to
Yeah.
start your day of being successful.
Yeah, and also my kids are doing their schooling in their room, so having an orderly place, I think, really helps. Helps to keep a get your mind in an orderly, positive way, which is what you have to do schoolwork. So, um,
Have they ever had any issue? I know I just sent out a resource recommending that parents, if it's possible, to separate the study space from your rest or your sleep space, but that's not always feasible for all kids. So,
Yeah.
and most
Yeah.
of this came from my own experience, right? When I was in college, I tried to study in my dorm room, and it actually ended up that I started developing anxiety about just not feeling like I was on top or studied enough. And so when I would go to sleep, or when I was supposed to go to sleep, I would be anxious because now my brain had
Mm.
associated my bed and my bedroom with studying and working and no longer resting. And so it took, for me, it took separating those spaces. But I don't know, do your kids have
Yeah.
any issue with that? And I mean, obviously, we just have to make do with what we have.
Right. Yeah. It's something new for them. So we'll see how that goes. But I think it's so important to be able to talk about those things and for them to recognize that maybe that could be a difficulty.
Right.
So yeah, we'll see. So definitely readjust and just as adults do that, especially
Yeah.
adults who might be working at home and have more freedom and space than a little cubicle in a building. Um, what's not working? What can I do different to have a better attitude? And as a parent, I think my job would be to just kind of keep tabs on that and feel how things are going. And with my daughter, who's a junior in high school, she's a very independent worker and takes her studies very seriously. So I don't have any concerns there, but she did have some difficulties with some of the first assignments, and so we just talked about that and asking her questions. What can you do to get help? How can you um, to deal with this? And so she talked about how she ended up handling it after some frustration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So having a routine with talking about the routine and how that things are going to look different around the house now.
Well, and then,
Yeah.
like you're saying, adjusting it, right? Adjusting it
Yeah. And then
day by
adjustment.
day or every week, coming back, circling back to that kind of
Mm.
Sunday evening gathering, whether it's over dinner or whatnot, on your couch or whatever, and saying, okay, what worked and what didn't work, which is very similar, by the way. I mean, if we think of lifelong learning and the skills that can be taken from high school or this specific experience that we're in with the coronavirus, that's what you do in a business, in an organization. You circle back, you have
Right.
a huddle, and you
Yeah.
see what worked, what didn't work. So
Mhm.
building those lifelong skills of conversing with a group and being able to be aware
Mm.
enough of, I don't feel productive, okay, this is really helping, this is definitely not, is just so
Yeah. And that's why a lot of parents choose to homeschool is because they want to teach those lifelong skills to their children.
important.
And frankly, the traditional school situation is set up for managing 25 kids in one room, and then maybe 500 or whatever in the whole building. And so there's a lot more structure. Their daily schedule is to the minute, and the teacher dictates when the learning's going to start, or at least the teaching part, and hopefully the kids are learning, and when it's going to stop, and when they can stand, and when they can go to the bathroom, and when they get to go play. And so now it's different. And so I think it helps for parents to realize that uh, this isn't really school at home. This is learning at home and how they can facilitate learning at home. And besides those lifelong skills that can be taught now, but also the most, a very important thing is the actual learning because most parents have been given the curriculum, the packets, the online class schedule, and so on. And so that's actually a good thing. Homeschool, as a homeschooler, you have to do all of that yourself, but
Right.
now that's being done for you.
And I love what you
Mhm.
just said as far as separating out. I mean, just in terms of the wording, right? Separating out school versus learning. That learning,
Right.
I'm seeing this too in different like faith threads that I'm looking at as church.
Mhm.
Like, what's the definition of church? Is it the structure or is it
Mhm.
the body and the community? Same thing. School is really just the structure. It's where we go, it's where the teachers are, it's where the administrators are, the resources, which is great and fantastic. But the learning should be existing no matter if, should be happening no matter if you're in the structure or not, right? Which I
Right. Right.
feel like gives a lot of grace to all the parents and all the support team and the grandparents and whatnot who are helping kids doing this distance learning right now, because it's learning no matter what.
Yeah, definitely. And so if parents, I think, are really frustrated right now,
Mhm.
maybe since we've all been doing it just for a couple of days, maybe the newness is still there and the kids have a good attitude and mom was able to take the time to get organized. Um, or it could have started out with a lot of frustration. Um, and so what I would suggest is, besides coming up with that routine, which would be flexible, kind of a loose schedule. And I think a lot of schools, the teachers did give the parents an idea of what to, how to structure their day. But it's loose, and homeschoolers love that because if they find something that they're really into, they can just keep going with that and go down these rabbit trails. And thankfully, even though we're quarantined, we can get on the internet and learn so much that way. And moms have, embraced homeschooling because of the learning that they do with their children.
Yeah.
Most of us would say we hated history and in school is such a boring subject. And then most homeschool moms say, I love history.
Right. Well, and it's so
There's,
much more fun
yeah,
when you don't have the stress of a test associated with it.
that's
I
true.
mean,
Yeah,
I think of
yeah.
homeschooling that, we have separate clients, but I work with a couple
Uh,
beyond clients homeschooling. And yeah, we go back and I'm either learning with them or the student, because, they're on YouTube and are following different
yeah.
people and channels, they start suggesting things to me. So, like, the other day I was watching a YouTube video on quantum computing with my homeschool student, which
Uh,
I'm interested in, my kind of
okay.
science person. I'm like, yeah,
Ah, yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
mhm,
So that's, the difference between schooling happening in a building and at home. And I think if parents, kind of have that positive attitude and along with setting that environment and having that workspace, which I think helps a child to, do their work neatly. They're going to have to be turning this in somehow. Um, but it's okay if a child is still doing their work neatly, standing up instead of sitting in a chair or laying down on the floor. That could work as long as they're producing, legible writing. But with reading, which everybody should be doing that, hopefully the parents are enjoying that with their children. And the younger ones definitely need that kind of supervision, either reading aloud to the kids, taking turns, one read a page, and then the parent read the other page, listening to the child read.
yeah,
Um, that can be done on the couch, snuggled up together, sitting outside, in the under a tree, back porch, whatever, and really enjoying. Hopefully, the books that they're reading are great books at my child's classical school, especially at the lower levels. The books are so enjoyable and meant to be read and shared with somebody else.
right.
Uh, so I hope parents can enjoy that. And the big challenge I know for parents is right now structuring their prior commitments, especially if they're working, if they're employed, and then having the children at home. So I have a few ideas of how that might go better. If you want me to talk
Yeah,
about that.
any that you want to share?
Yeah. So let's see. I never had the experience of being employed, self-employed, and having to do that at home. But of course, the challenges of homeschooling the children at home would be that I needed to give attention to one child and not be distracted by the others, or or I did have to. I had a lot of volunteer commitments and that I wanted to give my attention to during the day. Uh, so I think what maybe works well for working parents is to, yes, structure their day so they're giving their attention to their children during their school time. But then when they need to get on and have a meeting or get a project finished on time, to save something really special and entertaining for the children that they can give to the child. It might be a video, it might be that's when they get out the special box of toys or whatever, or special Play Doh or art project kind of thing. That's not too messy or demanding.
Right.
but something they can do independently, quietly, and it's something special that the kid will be engaged in for a certain period of time. And the other thing would be the snacks. I think everybody is realizing that, oh, everybody's home eating all the time. And that's homeschoolers, have had to deal with that
Yeah.
for forever. And it's always been kind of, something funny, but then, yeah, you get really irritated with the messes in the kitchen and 20 cups on the countertop and so on. But I like the idea that someone had shared with having little baskets and the kid's water bottle was in the basket along with maybe 4 or 5 snacks for the day. And then, or whatever the number might be, but and that was it. That was their snack basket, and that's it. And they can help themselves when they say that they need a snack, and then when the snacks are gone, they're gone. They can't just keep eating the whole big box of snacks in one day. So having that, and then other ideas is someone suggested that when the parent is finished with their job, instead of coming out and then going to doing some other job in the house, getting the dinner going or laundry or whatever chore needs to be done, stop and reconnect with the children and just give them some attention. And it probably would only be for a few minutes. Maybe check, oh, what were you building? How did you like that video you got to watch, or whatever it might be. And because if you're not connecting that way, quite often I think little kids they're going to get your attention anyway, and probably in a negative way, because they get attention from you, even if it might be negative. So they might just need to connect after they've been working independently and mom has been away. And then of course, with 2 parents in the house, work out the schedule of when a parent can watch the kids and keep them attentive and not distract the other parent who needs to be mindful of their own job. Another thing is that parents are working, different hours with young kids, put them to bed early, and then get a few hours in before your own bedtime. Or if you have older kids, get up early, get the work done before they get up and start making noises. So, having to work at different hours works for a lot of parents.
Yeah.
And then, of course, just being that good example of having to adjust and take things, try to be
Right.
positive about it.
Yeah, and
So,
checking in. I mean, I think that
yeah.
just even from an social emotional need is so valuable.
Mhm.
Which I've been talking with a couple people about, and just checking in, especially with seniors, both high school and
Oh, yeah.
college.
Yeah.
Anybody who this was going to be kind of their capstone year of
Right.
a mark, 8th graders maybe as well, and then just being so sad about it. So not only are they learning this distance learning aspect and getting used to that, but the social emotional need of like, okay, I
Mhm.
have some big emotions to process in
Mhm.
amongst all of the fear and I think some of the chaos that we can
Mhm.
feed into very easily with all the news reports coming
Right.
out daily.
Mhm.
So I think that checking in is so valuable to give attention and to make space for the emotional needs for everybody. Um,
Right.
but
Right.
but I just love. I mean, I think you just really hit the nail on the head with this check in terms of a week, and just really, we would call it a huddle within a business. We
Mhm.
have our weekly huddles, whether you want to call it that in the family, maybe just a family meeting, and just taking some time to say what's working, what's not, and what are mom and dad going to do to try and meet their company needs or whatever their work professional needs are, and how that might change with the students' needs, their kids' needs, and what that looks like, so everybody can be on the same page and hopefully have a little bit more understanding. But I think that's
Right. Right. Hopefully, there's a lot more family dinners happening than it used to be with all the busy schedules and people staying home and
right,
trying to connect that way.
right.
Uh, yeah.
Well, are there any tips or resources that you want to share with people? Again, I know both of us have been following a lot of different Facebook groups and mom chats and things
Mhm.
like that, but you've shared some good ones already as far as just different ways to schedule and checking in and whatnot. But any things that we didn't get to cover that you wanted to get out
Let me see. Oh, I know one thing I didn't mention was the importance of taking breaks, not just for your body, but for your brain. And so, just as we probably realize about ourselves, we pay attention to what we're doing, we can get really engaged, and then we kind of lay back and get maybe distracted or pay attention to something else for a while. And so so that's important, and it's good for the kids too that they need those brain breaks and body breaks too. So again, the school structure, you might think that your kids have been sitting in a classroom in a chair for 6 or 8 hours, and why can't they do that at home now? Well, teachers don't really make them sit that long, but they do have a few opportunities to get up. But at home, you're going to see them up and down a lot, and that's a signal that they probably do need that break. So, one resource that is really fun that I even use with my homeschool student now is a website called GoNoodle.com. And I know teachers use that in the classroom. You can do it at home. And they're just hundreds of videos. They're real engaging, upbeat music. And it's either memorizing or learning kind of little diddlies that are facts, or just how to get along with people, or just focus. There's a nice quiet one that's about focusing. And so we'll usually start our school lesson time with a Go Noodle, but at home it might be just doing some movements in the house, some stretching, whatnot, or getting outside and being really active. A lot of people like to do their exercise first thing in the morning. So getting out, enjoying that fresh morning air. In a school setting, they just have to go right into the building and miss the pretty sunrises or the morning air. And so now you can do that at home.
Yeah.
And then come in and sit down, and that really helps their brain to be able to focus. And they might be attentive for 15 minutes, and then you'll notice the pencil dropping a lot. There was a study done on that. You got kids dropping their pencils, and it was because the children are not getting up and playing enough. They're in school all day, and then they go home and sit on screens, and they need to be moving more. And so that might their body just needs to move. And I know when we homeschooled young kids, quite often I said, when I could see that they were distracted and not doing well with their schoolwork, like, okay, get up and go outside and jump on the trampoline, which is the best investment we ever did for our homeschooling, was to have a trampoline and go out and jump. And mom, if you haven't been out there jumping on the trampoline, get out there too.
Right.
Everybody will laugh if you're out on the trampoline.
Yeah.
I would make my son get out and go run laps in the cul-de-sac and then come back in and sit down.
I
And
have to make it a challenge, because a lot of times, when you would get the I don't want to do jumping jacks. So I would make it a challenge, especially for boys. I found it
oh
really
yeah,
well to say, like, okay, if you get this question, we would wager, right? So like, if you get this
oh
question right, you do 25 jumping jacks, or if you get it wrong, and if you get it right, I'll do 25 jumping jacks. And so
okay,
having that competitiveness really
yeah,
works to both get the movement and get the blood flowing, and
yeah,
make everything fresh, and then making it just a little bit more engaging. And same thing. I mean, I need my blood and body moving as
yeah.
well, so it made it more fun.
Yeah. So that's what they need to be able to learn, is to have those opportunities for their brain to disengage for a while, and then they can go back and engage their brain. And you mentioned also about stress right now, and a lot of people are worried about a lot of things, and so helping that, children can't learn if they're under stress. So your job as the parent would be to have that calm atmosphere, and not have them worry about things that they don't have any control over right now, but they do have control over washing their hands and not putting their hands in their mouth or nose. Those are the things that they can do to stay healthy right now. And then you just go on and embrace whatever new activities you have now. Um, so I think that was just some of those are the only things that I thought about. We'll kind
Well,
of take a
and
quick.
they're so good. I think what I've noticed about working with you is you you drop pearls of wisdom without even realizing it. And I think you have such
Probably so.
ease
Mhm.
in the way. I think a lot of it is natural and some of your gifting, and then some of it is just walking through this, right? Doing homeschool for so
Mhm.
long is you
Mhm.
really have a grounded perspective. I think going back to school versus learning and just being reminded that
Mhm.
learning is happening all the time in a lot of different ways. And we've got to focus on that and not put so much pressure on getting whatever the worksheets are done in whatever amount of time we feel like they should be done. And honoring the fact that sitting down and reading a book with your kids, no matter what age they are, or watching a documentary or having a conversation or having a family meeting, like those are all really valuable lifelong skills that are going to serve them now and once we get out of this pandemic and they go and have a professional career, however many years away that is. So I think there's just so much wisdom in that, and I appreciate you sharing it.
Well,
And
you're welcome. I'm happy to be able to do that.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you
All
so
right.
much, Mary, for your time. Like I said, I really appreciate it. And I'm excited for you to be able to share this with other families who are trying to navigate it. I think there was a lot of really good stuff in there. So
All
thanks.
right. Well, very good. You're welcome.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. And now the kitchen will be open for all people to go eat lunch.
Yeah. Very good.